have to restore both of those. In my view, the best way to start is by passing the REINS Act, which would require Congress to enact those laws. And I think to get that passed this year, we've got to attach it to the debt ceiling bill. I posted on that on my Base Mike Lee.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. What you're saying is just absolutely true. That there's vast amounts of federal regulation, which are de facto laws that are created, that it's an incomprehensible amount. It's literally no human could possibly even comprehend it. If you tried your hardest your whole life, you barely understand a small fraction of the regulations. And these regulations, if you look at them, there's millions of them, and it's not like any one regulation is the showstopper, but it's the way I visualize it, it's like Gulliver. Like America's like Gulliver, tied down by millions of little strings, and we need to cut those strings and free the giant.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's those laws, which they are laws, those will put you in prison. Those will shut down your business. Those will ruin your life if you disobey them. No different than any other law.
It's totally crazy.
It's exciting. Elon, isn't it true President Trump has an executive order that says for every one new regulation that is put into place, 10 have to be rescinded?
Yes. Yes. And now, of course, the bureaucracy is going to try to game that by having the one regulation. When like somebody says, everyone can ask one question, but then have a question in 10 parts. So it's possible to it's possible to game the regulation. So I think in addition to that executive order, which I certainly applaud, I think we need to go in and do wholesale removal of regulations. Like regulations basically should be default gone. Default gone, not default there, default gone. And if it turns out that we missed the mark on a regulation, we always add it back in. These regulations are added willy-nilly all the time. So we just got to do wholesale spring cleaning of regulation and get the government off the backs of everyday Americans so people can get things done, and the government doesn't have a sort of boot on the neck of the average Americans, which is because one of the core founding values of this country, what has made America great, what will lead to further greatness, is a focus on merit, that you get ahead as a function of your hard work and skill, and that you have freedom. It's free. It's the land of freedom and opportunity. And if the government has millions of regulations holding everyone back, it's not freedom. We've got to restore freedom.
And by the way, that's copied, multiplied, and 50-fold higher, where each of the 50 states then do the same thing.
Yes.
And many of these federal regulations are duplicative of the states doing the exact same thing, where the bureaucracies in each of the states are behaving like the federal government. So you think about the impact on people's lives, it just layers one on top of the other. And like you talk about zero-based budgeting, I really like this concept of zero-based regulations, where the default is nothing and build back on top.
Nothing, exactly.
Right. I mean, that's what our founders wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be like, and not that long ago, if you wanted to start a business, you just start a business. You just no license. Store. You can just do it. The government's not like prying into every part of get the license for this, do the license for that, get 17,000 permits. You look at LA and like how when I lived in LA, it was hard to get a permit to remodel your kitchen. And now with this disaster that's happened in LA, this terrible tragedy, just the sheer number of permits required to build a house are staggering. Basically, they've made it illegal. But we got to start somewhere on the regulatory front, and certainly, at least if we address federal regulation, then people can choose to move from one state to another and still remain in America, and move to the state that has less regulation, where the government gives you more freedom, and you've got that competition between states. You've got that federal system that was meant to be the case. That was how the country was created. Let the states compete. If your state is being oppressive, you can go to a neighboring state and live there. That's the whole idea.
Federalism is the answer, no doubt. But you got two things going for us right now in the country that haven't happened in a long time. One is a willing president, Donald Trump, who actually believes everything that all four of us have just said, which is a beautiful thing. And without that, it wouldn't be possible.
The more I've gotten to know President Trump, the more I like him. Frankly, I love the guy. He's great.
Yeah, and he's full bore more than any president we've had since the creation of the administrative state. So I think that's number one. And number two is, thanks to him, actually in his first term, you got a Supreme Court that 6-3 vehemently agrees with everything we've just said.
Yes.
And so I think it's possible.
Yes,
now,
in fact,
it's actually possible.
Yes, in fact, if it's not possible now, it'll never be possible. This is our shot. This is the best hand of cards we're ever going to have. And if we don't take advantage of this best hand of cards, it's never going to happen. So we're going to do it.
I agree.
Now or never.
Yeah, now or never. And I do think you're right, Vivek. With the first administration of President Trump and lessons learned through that administration, and now in the second administration, the stage is set. And he knows how to aggressively tackle a lot of these issues that have plagued us for years. And folks ask me, oh, Trump's first 100 days,